Bruce Arians retiring from coaching and moving to a front office role with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was no surprise to me. I am an avid listener to the Bill Simmons podcast, and I've read and listened to Bill Simmons' work for like a decade. He's someone I try to mold my career after a little bit just because it's smart, read between the tea leaves, and getting into the how and why of sports versus just the who, what, when, where. Bill Simmons had predicted this would happen like a month ago, as soon as there were rumblings that Tom Brady would unretire. And I know they always cite family, and I know Bruce Arians is older, but you cannot tell me that Bruce Arians wouldn't be the head coach this upcoming season. If not for Brady, Todd Bowles is going to get his opportunity now. Still excited about that. And Bruce Arians still in a front office role, but there is a connection there between Brady coming back, Bruce Arians no longer being the head coach, and I will not be told otherwise.
Man, I disagree with you 100%. And the reason why, Mark, I disagree with you, I see Coach Bruce Arians, how he dealt with minorities. I heard the stories where Bruce Arians, as he told him being at Temple, and his first roommate who had a kid and he was black and he took care of his kid. I seen Coach Bruce Arians bring in minorities and females when it comes down to a coaching staff in Arizona. I seen Coach Bruce Arians take the Tampa Bay Bucs team to make his coaching staff, my former teammates, a Larry Foote, a Brian Leftwich, a Antoine Randall L., a Goody Jr., and he wound up bringing two other females as weight room specialists and weight room coaches, and he wound up bringing another female as a coach. I seen Coach Bruce Arians be so unselfish in him not only stepping down but moving up in the front office. Here's why. Coach Todd Bowles. Coach Todd Bowles is a minority, a young black coach who had an opportunity with the Jets. Obviously, that didn't work out. I heard Coach Bruce Arians say, you know what, Coach? Man, I don't want me a Super Bowl. I think hopefully, man, I got me a good resume as a head coach. I'm going to do something which usually doesn't happen for a black coach in this situation. I'm going to give you a quarterback. I've seen this before. So when you say it's a front office move, I've seen what Coach Bruce Arians have done for minorities and women as well for a long time. This ain't overnight. This been going back to his Temple days since the late 80s, the early 80s, if you want to say. So Coach Bruce Arians, he's always looked at minorities or women. He's always had an open mind. So when they say, man, Tom Brady moved into the front office, I'm like, nah. I seen what happened with Coach Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians. Them two talked in the offseason, and Coach Bruce Arians was like, you know what? If you don't like a job or a situation, and if you don't like the pay, I would gladly step down and give you an opportunity and a chance. And that's just been Coach Bruce Arians. I've seen him tell Byron Leftwich, you know what, if you don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they run their organization, come on and come back. I can pay you like a head coach. Hey Todd, you're my defensive coordinator, but I can pay you like a head coach. Now Todd actually will have that head coaching job, and then working out the extension. I think it's a 5-year deal. So yeah, this to me, in my mind, this is just my personal opinion. This ain't got nothing to do with Tom Brady. This has everything with Coach Bruce Arians and how he gives minorities and women an opportunity. One of the only white coaches who have a boatload of staff members who are minorities or blacks or females. BA started this. He always went against the grain. So I don't think Tom Brady asked him to retire. I don't think Tom Brady was like, you know what, if I come back, BA has to go in the front office. I thought BA always looked out for minorities. I thought BA always had a plan. And I thought BA talked to Coach Bowles and was like, you know what, these job interviews you going on, this situation you going on, you know what, if Tom Brady comes back, I'm stepping down as a head coach, moving in the front office. Why we don't think about that part? Why I got to be Tom Brady? Why Coach BA couldn't tell Coach Bowles, you know what, Tom, I'm gonna give you a franchise quarterback for 2 years. You're gonna draft a quarterback in the next 2 or 3 years to replace Tom Brady, but this is what I'm about to do for you. Why he couldn't say that to him? So why when Tom come back, it got to be, oh, Tom Brady don't like Bruce Arians. They're gonna say what they need to say in the media to make it look good. Why I got to be that is what I'm asking.
When there's smoke, there's fire, Ike. I'm not going to argue what you're saying in terms of Arians' staff because the track record speaks for itself. I'm not going to argue that at all and he's been successful his staff, he's won everywhere he's gone. And he's going to be in the team's ring of honor, despite the fact that he's only been the head coach for 3 seasons. I'm not arguing there. What I would argue is where there's smoke, there's fire. And what I mean by that is Brady for 2 decades in New England has been the TB12 method, the workaholic. Sometimes perception is reality in that regard. It's no secret that Arians is a little bit more of a trimmed down schedule, a little bit more laid back. Let's get in our work early, get in early, leave early, that kind of thing. And so when I read reports about that, there's the notion is this, Ike, is that if Brady thinks that there's another coach, maybe in Todd Bowles, that gives him a better opportunity to win in what will likely be his final season in the NFL.
Brady is all I'm saying, Mark. Why it can't be Coach Bruce Arians looking out for Todd Bowles? Why does have to do anything with Tom Brady? Why he couldn't tell Coach Todd Bowles, like, you know, if Brady does come back, you need this head coaching job because he's a franchise quarterback. I want y'all to see why I'm out of the way. Why they just got to be with Tom Brady being in New England? They won during the pandemic. His first year, no offseason, damn near. That's exactly how by Coach Bruce Arians' style. That's exactly how they won. Coach Bruce Arians, Coach BA changed his whole philosophy, changed his whole coaching style because of Tom Brady, as he should. Because you're getting a guy who was a 7-time Super Bowl champion. But why this can't be about Coach BA trying to help minorities and women out when it comes down to giving them a good head start? Why does got to be so much about Tom and what he's been doing and Coach BA what they've been doing? Obviously they work well with each other for a couple of years and know what each other like and dislike. Why this can't be about BA helping the minorities is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
You're the first person I've heard, Ike, bring up that argument. And I'm just thinking out loud here at this point. To me, the answer to that question would be the timing. And here's what I mean by that. Todd Bowles, and this is just a quick Google search right now, Ike, interviewed for other head coaching vacancies this offseason. Now, was he actually legitimately considered as a candidate? Or was he the candidate interviewed as part of the Rooney Rule process and it was more of a sham interview, something we've talked about with Brian Flores, Ike? And so my answer to that question would be the timing because, okay, I'm looking, this is just a Google search off the top of my head, Ike. Todd Bowles has interviewed with both the Vikings and the Raiders this offseason before deciding to come back and continue to serve at the time as the defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. Now he's getting the opportunity to be the head coach. So those other franchises could have poached Todd Bowles because we both like Todd Bowles as a coach, Ike.
Yeah, so my whole thing was BA told Todd Bowles, and I'm just talking, BA told Todd Bowles, man, you should go out there and see what's out there. But if Tom Brady comes back, man, let me step down from this coaching and move into this front office and give you Tom Brady because you already got head coaching experience. Now you can put Brian Leftwich as an assistant head coach. We keep worrying about Tom. We ain't thinking about BA and how he's been looking out. So now under Byron Leftwich resume, he got assistant head coach. Coach Todd Bowles has been a head coach, and everybody else. Larry Foote now moves into the defense coordinator position. Like this, BA know what the heck he doing. So why this got to be about Tom Brady and them two not getting along with BA? Like, no, I'm trying to put my minority staff in better positions.
And let's take this a step further too, Ike, because honestly, your argument actually makes a lot of sense. But let's take this a step further. Maybe BA would have continued to be the head coach without Tom Brady because I always like looking at the over-under win totals, which we'll get into for the Steelers here in our next segment. But the Buccaneers win total, what it was when Tom Brady had retired for however many days it was, versus when he decided to come back and how much that would help him. And what I mean by that is that maybe Arians would have continued to be the head coach for a season or two because your team's going to be better with Tom Brady as the quarterback versus if it weren't. And so maybe the reason he is coming back is, that Arians is stepping aside is, okay, Todd Bowles now has an opportunity to be successful versus say you're to make this move after the fact with Tom Brady. If Tom Brady weren't the quarterback and Bowles were then the head coach, he might be stepping into a situation where he doesn't have a good quarterback. We like Todd Bowles as a head coach, but when he was the head coach of the New York Jets couldn't really figure out the quarterback situation. And that's the reason why he was not a head coach in the league for several years. We saw what his defenses can do, particularly in the Super Bowl, shutting down Patrick Mahomes and company, and they didn't score a touchdown. Now, I know if you look back and you just look at the snapshot of the game, Tom Brady, Super Bowl MVP, that wasn't the narrative of the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Ike. And we've talked about that here on this show. And so you are the first person who's brought this up, Ike, that I've heard in any media. And I'm telling you this right now, this upcoming week, we're going to see this here on a national show. I'm going to be like, my guy, Ike Taylor, called this. It's April the 4th. We're recording this the morning, Monday, April the 4th, Ike. I think it's a great point. I had never really thought about that. The one counter I would have would be, okay, if that's the case, Todd Bowles could have been poached again. I know the Vikings and the Raiders interviewed him this offseason to be their head coaches. Potentially both of those franchises obviously decide to go in different directions.
They knew Tom was coming back. Tom ain't put his. He was coming back. When we did our event down in Tampa at the Davidoff Geneva, the cigar lounge down there, they already knew Tom was coming back. They say Tom ain't put it in his papers. He coming back. So I mean, and if you look at it, he just had too much gas left in the tank on how well he played. I mean, he damn near was up for the league MVP. Why would I go out? You know, like I've never been a guy y'all call athletic. I've always been the guy who's clutch. I always made the game-winning drive. That's been me all my life. So I don't have to get outside the pocket. As a matter of fact, last year, I think I had my longest rushing yards last year and damn near my 22nd, NFL season. So why should I retire? So I thought it was just a heat of a moment. I thought somebody out of his camp probably leaked it out. And he was like, nah, man. He wound up asking his wife, and like, babe, like I still got a lot left. She was like, I hate to say it, you do. If you coming up in mentions as a league MVP at 44, 45 years old, why would you stop now? So that's how I look at it with Tom. I ain't never really think Tom was gonna retire like that. Tom had too much gas left in the tank for me, Mark.
I'll piggyback off that. Led the league in both passing touchdowns and passing yardage in the 2021 season, Ike. But I'm still of the thought process to where if Brady decides to retire, like I think Tom Brady had something to do with this, Ike. That's just my opinion. That's where we disagree, and that's okay. Before we go to the next subject, though, Ike, Bruce Arians coached on the Steelers staff, who's the receivers coach from 2004 to 2006. Receivers coach 2004 to 2006, and then the offensive coordinator from 2007 through the 2011 season. What's like the best Bruce Arians story you can share here on the show? I don't know if I've ever asked you this before.
No, when BA had Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, and Antonio Brown, he said, I got some cars in my garages, and all of them fast. He said, we gonna smoke y'all ass in training camp this year. I guarantee you, we gonna smoke. I got some cars and hey, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know we're gonna smoke y'all. And that was the first time Coach B.A. had a trio like that when it came down to the wide receivers. Mike Wallace was running 4.2s, 4.3s, waking up out the bed. Emmanuel Sanders had to be probably the toughest son of a gun at 165, soaking wet, route running, coming down and cut blocking a blindside linebackers or a defensive ends. And we already know AB, a young AB at the time, was just, you already knew he was the one. That's how AB was. So, man, he had a trio. But once he got his trio, once they drafted the guys that he wanted for that wide receiver position, Mark, he couldn't wait at training camp. He could, because every route was a deep route. A go, a post, an 18-yard comeback. There was the 3 routes. He said, we're gonna red line your engine this year. He said that engine gonna be on that red line. Yin. He said, we're gonna red line the hell out your engine. You think you fast? I got some fast guys. And he wasn't lying.
So how did you push back? Were you just like, yeah, bring it. I've seen it all in my career to this point. Like, do you not know who I am and who I've gone against? Not just against the opposition, but against other Steelers receivers that you had gone up against to that point in your career?
Yeah. For you to come to me and talk to me about receivers and say you got a few receivers who can beat me deep, I know y'all talking about me in the staff meetings. So that's how I looked at it. I say, dang, this what they saying. This what they drafted. We got to get someone or somebody who can either match or be as fast as Ike Taylor on our football team. So that was the way I was looking at the situation. Like, oh, so y'all talking about me and y'all meetings. Oh, I'm all the way good.
And I tweeted out a social graphic this morning, like fastest players in NFL history. They have the next gen stats. You are on that list as well. You mentioned Mike Wallace as well. He's also on that list of players and in that group of players. So game recognizes game. I'll call you out when I see it. But in terms of speed, now I look at that old Tom Shaw video clip saying that you're among the fastest players he's ever coached. Game recognizes game, and I take the testimony of, what the stats and metrics show me, but then what other people say as well. So that doesn't surprise me at all, but that's an amazing interaction between both you and Bruce Arians.
Oh yeah, you'll love BA. BA is easy going. Now when it's time to coach, he gonna coach. He gonna give it to you blood raw. But when it's time to relax and chill, he gonna relax and chill just as well.